I remember at my very first Dharma course that I went to, Zopa Rinpoche taught a little bit about emptiness. And I recorded it and I went over the recordings and I studied it. And there wasn't very much to read in those days in English, but whatever there was, I read about emptiness. And at that time, the lamas had this thing of, they would give, quote, quote, Sangha exams, have Sangha exams. I wasn't ordained at this time, but where a Sangha member had to come up in front of the other Sanghas and give a talk about a certain topic. And so, I was really interested in emptiness, and I wasn't ordained, but I thought, I want to get ordained, and sometime if I have to do a Sangha exam, I'm going to do mine on emptiness. And I'm going to talk about this and this and this and this. It's going to be extraordinary, because I really get it. And it's interesting how I knew more then about emptiness than I know now. Yeah, I really, the whole idea of emptiness is really it was so simple back then, When you just know the words and, dependent arising and emptiness are complementary, they're not, they're not incompatible, but they are, and the two truths are complementary, they aren't incompatible, but they are contradictory. Yeah? And Buddha nature, you have one kind of Buddha nature that's the emptiness of the mind, and another kind of Buddha nature that's the evolving Buddha nature. And one's the ultimate nature of the mind, and the other one, conventional nature of the mind. So the mind has an ultimate nature, but the mind does not exist ultimately. Emptiness is the ultimate truth, but it doesn't exist ultimately. And a conventional truth is never an ultimate truth. But a conventional truth and an ultimate truth are one nature. Yeah. So you kind of get the words and you try and put it together, all these new words you hear, and they come out like a fruit salad. Or like Lama Yeshe used to tell us, soup. Yeah, we make soup. Potatoes, carrots, Brussels sprouts, celery, this, that, the other. Stir it up. Yeah, looks good, tastes good. But none of the things are you don't have just carrots or just celery. It's all your ideas are mixed together, like in soup. Everything's all mixed together. So thank goodness, I didn't have to give a Sangha exam. Otherwise, I'm sure if I had been asked to talk about emptiness, I would have been completely humiliated, unless everybody else didn't know as much as I knew, but thought they knew. Like I thought I knew. Yeah. So, gaining an understanding of emptiness is not easy. And, as Jeffrey was saying in a recent class, he was really emphasizing how Tsongkhapa said, you can negate inherent existence and get the view of emptiness, but how to establish conventional existence afterwards is very difficult. Yeah? Because things conventionally exist, but they don't ultimately exist. and you have veiled truths, and you have ultimate truth. But veiled truths or conventional truths are not true. They're false. So you're trying to establish falsities, the existence of falsities, after you realize the true nature of those falsities. Yeah? And those falsities are dependent arising. And dependent arising is valid, it's reliable, it's true. But it's producing falsities. How can dependent arising produce falsities? Or is it dependent arising producing falsities, or our ignorance producing the falsities? But then, does that make the falsities true? The falsities aren't true. Yeah, so really figuring out how, what it means to say dependent arising and emptiness are complementary is not so easy. Yeah? So I just want to encourage people to take their time. Yeah? Take your time. Listen to things. Go back over your notes. Study them well. Write down definitions. Write down your questions. Ask your questions. Yeah? And really take time and try to, get a correct view of emptiness. They say that understanding bodhicitta is not terribly difficult, but actualizing it and getting our mind to really have bodhicitta in our hearts instead of in our heads, that takes a long time. Getting the correct view, takes a long time. But after you do, then it's not as difficult as bodhicitta to actually realize. Yeah. But getting the correct view is not easy. It's not easy. Yeah. So we have to put in effort, And similar with bodhicitta, understanding it is not terribly difficult, but to really put in effort to actualize it, these things take time. Yeah? And one thing we have to get used to in our Dharma practice is being wrong. Yeah? If you don't like being wrong, then Dharma practice is not going to work for you. Because Dharma practice is all about being wrong. Because if our present conceptions and ways of things were correct, then we would be liberated already. Okay? If our attitude towards sentient beings was really, perfect, we would be Buddhas already. Okay? And we would, wouldn't we? If we had bodhicitta, if we had realization of emptiness, maybe not Buddhas, we would at least be Arya Bodhisattvas. Yeah, degrade a little bit. Arya Bodhisattva. Yeah. Are you able to manifest, 1,000 bodies on the path of seeing to benefit sentient beings? If you can't do that, you're not an Arya Bodhisattva. Yeah. So, to really try and understand we have to get used to continually refining our understanding and get used to being wrong a lot. Yeah. If we aren't willing to admit that our anger is a wrong mind, we aren't willing to admit that our arrogance, that our attachment, that our jealousy, that our ignorance, that these are all afflicted, wrong minds, they don't perceive reality, even conventional reality they don't see, even though conventional reality is false, they don't see the falsities in a correct way. Yeah, unless we get used to being wrong a lot and really rejoice every time we notice we're wrong so that we can put aside that wrong view. Yeah, unless we can do that and we're continually fighting to be right, yeah, we're going to get ourselves really stuck. Yeah. So I think approaching emptiness involves a lot of just, humility. It's a very un-American quality, I know. But, of like, well, okay, I'm learning, I'm exploring, I'm trying to understand. And then I take what I understand and I look at my own mind. Yeah. And I know all the words. Oh, yes, veiled truths, conventional truths, they're falsities. But what I see with my eyes is true. Wrong. Wrong. We have to see. What I see with my eyes is not true. And what does true mean? True has very specific meanings in different situations. Yeah, so we can't take one meaning of true and use it the same way across the board. Okay, so we have to, approach this slowly, very open-mindedly, willing to revise our ideas. Yeah, but also thinking about things deeply so that if we have a position, we can defend it and we don't just crumble. Yeah. Okay. So I just want to encourage you to take the time, be patient, be curious, explore, question. Yeah. You don't have to know it all now, and you don't have to be right all the time.